There are so many different ways that you and I are able to learn and that we are able to grow. And we know that from our lived experience. There, of course, are books that we read that help us learn. There are all sorts of YouTube videos, the how-to ones, so that you and I can set our minds and our hands to being able to do something we've never done before. Why, there's Google, that helps us to learn. Maybe not necessarily grow, but you know what I'm talking about. And, of course, there's other people. There's the example of others that can help us to learn and to grow. So today, Jesus wants us to learn from the dishonest steward. Sounds odd, doesn't it? That you and I should learn from someone who is dishonest. But that's exactly the purpose of the gospel story today. It's the reason why the church gives us this passage on this 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time, because Jesus wants us to learn from the dishonest steward. Now, what should we learn from him? Well, the first thing we should learn from him is the importance of making lists. I don't know about you, but the older I get, the more important that task becomes. To make lists so that I don't forget things I'm supposed to do, I don't forget where I'm supposed to be, and I don't forget people that I'm supposed to know. I make lists. How about you? But we make lists more than just the to-do lists. You and I are pretty good at making other lists as well. You know the lists that I'm talking about. It's those lists of those things that people have done or not done, said or not said to us, that have maybe caused some hurt in our life. We keep those lists as well. We keep a running tally of all those things that people have said or done, not done, that somehow have gotten us a little pain in the side or in the back or whatever it might be. So nonetheless, the steward, the dishonest one, tells us today it's important to make lists. But the other thing the dishonest steward reminds us to learn is that there's great power that comes with generosity and forgiveness. The dishonest steward understands that. Imagine that. This person who's dishonest has it figured out. Why, if I just sit down with people that owe my master incredible debts, if I just sit down with them and invite them and to forgive part of what it is that they owe to the master, why, what's going to happen? These debtors, are going to be generous to him. So the dishonest steward teaches us the power that comes when we are generous and when we are forgiving. So those are the things we need to learn from our dishonest steward in today's gospel. Make lists. How else are you going to know then what it is that you need to forgive and what it is that you're going to need to be generous about? So, as I was envisioning what God wanted me to do with this gospel story and this parable today and what he wants you and I to do, this is what I envisioned this past week. That all of us, after Mass tonight, would spend a little time looking at those lists that we've created and that we've made. You know, those lists of things to do that we have to get done each and every day. And to look at that list and with honesty to be able to see, where does God come in that list? Is he at the top? Is he at the bottom? Is he in the middle? Maybe he's not on the list at all. And then I have to look at that list to be able to say, well, what's at the top of the list? What's really, really important in my life at this present time? And is it simply doing the work that needs to be done, or is it about the relationships that I need to enter into and need to be a part of in my daily living? So the first thing we need to do is what I'm envisioning God wants us to do is, well, that he wants us to look at our list, to see what's on it and where he fits in all of that. And then the second thing I think God wants us to do as I envision this parable is he wants us to take that list and he wants us to rip it up. He wants us to rip it up. He wants us to throw it away. And he wants us to sit down and write a new one. The IOU to God one. And God only wants us to write two things on the list. And he doesn't want us to subtract it like the dishonest steward wanted his debtors, his master's debtors to do. No, God wants us to create this new list. There only needs to be two things on it, and he wants us to do more of it, not less. And the very first thing that he wants us to put on the list is to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. To love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then the second thing he wants us to put down, and he wants us to double our efforts in doing it with great generosity and with the ability to forgive, because there's power in both of those things. He simply wants us to put down the way in which we love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength is to love our neighbor as ourselves. It's a simple list. Notice I said simple, not easy. But it's a list nonetheless that you and I are invited to make. So let us learn from the dishonest steward. Let us make this list and let us realize the power that comes with both generosity and forgiveness. Because when we see and recognize and extend and believe in generosity and forgiveness, why then the list has on it what we need. Love God and love others.